Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to OutSchool Live. I'm Fernando, community guy. Here at OutSchool Live, we are digging deep into topics that will inspire you and your family and your learners on their education journey. And today I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Cafferly, who is going to talk to us about social sciences and their importance in the education of our learners. So, with no further ado, please welcome Dr. Cafferly. Hello, hello. Dun, 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 dun,
Howdy.
dun.
It's nice to be with you, Fernando.
Thanks so much for being here. I'm very excited to talk about social sciences and you and your background. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I've been a teacher for more years than I could count. And 5 years ago, I found OutSchool and decided I could teach here because I could teach true curriculum, the truth about social sciences, the facts about social sciences with a fun twist. And so my background's in social sciences with education concentration, social and criminal justice, master's in education with a PhD in philosophy and psychology. And I like to share that with teenagers. I love teaching teens. They're a blast to be with, and I like to try to cut them off at the pass before they grow up and become adults and have them ready to go and change the world, not conquer it, change it.
Ooh. All right, so backing up, how would you describe social sciences? Because I'm thinking about myself, and here I am. I'm like distracted by. Is there something? There's something hanging on my hat that I can't. All right, good. I got it. All right. Um.
Oh, there's something on my hat. Oh yeah, out
No.
school. I'm a fan.
Oh, nicely done. Yes, well played. Social sciences. So I'm thinking social sciences, and immediately the first thing that comes to my head is like eighth grade social studies. I'm gonna assume that that's a little bit of a limited version of social sciences. How do you describe social sciences? Um, Keeping in mind that you're probably talking to people like me who are like, okay, he's a social studies teacher.
Well, social studies is definitely the first place to start. Absolutely, because you get a little bit of almost everything. But we prefer the term social sciences because, yes, we talk about world history, US history, world and US economics, or other countries, their economics, their history. Um, but it goes beyond government and civics and uh, history. It goes into sociology, where we're learning about different cultures, how we all socialize together, inequalities. It goes into psychology. Why do we act the way we do? Why do I have these emotions? How does the chemicals of the brain and endocrine system work? And then we also go into comparative world religion, where there are over 13 main religions and countless spiritualities. And religion and culture are so intertwined. So we talk about history, but we also need to talk about sociology, cultural anthropology, psychology, social and criminal justice. That also falls under social sciences. Um, all of this is intertwined, and we need to know more about it because we need more empathy in the world. And in order to have that, you have to have not just a better understanding, but right understanding. And another wonderful part of social sciences is asking questions. And sometimes these questions go and lead into other questions. And this is where philosophy comes in the social sciences realm. So it's just so important to learn about all these things, to learn about each other, to learn about each other's beliefs and thoughts, and not just not just for tolerance, to be able to tolerate everyone, but also for just acceptance. Accept the way these things are and still get along with people and share thoughts and ideas. There's other communities like LGBTQ plus studies. It's kind of going through a hard time right now, along, of course, with race. That's an issue right now, too, and different stuff. So, a better understanding leads to tolerance, which leads to acceptance and also just respecting each other, man. And you learn all of this through social sciences.
On that note, we talked a little bit about this at one of our meetings before. What is the okay? So I'm going to say yes, I agree, and I wholeheartedly agree, and I'm glad that you are working with learners on this level and intention. But what is the career value of this
Mhm.
field of study of social sciences and all, the empathy and understanding? How does that benefit someone's career?
In everything, in any career, you have
Tell
to
me more.
work with other people, and so you need to accept who they are for what they are and learn from them. But if you want to pinpoint it down some more, human resources, um, uh, uh, marketing. Oh my gosh, you really have to know this stuff with marketing, any type of
Understanding
advertising.
people.
Yeah. Um, becoming a social sciences teacher. Yeah, you need to know all this.
Right, beyond just teaching the subject, right? How does it but I think you're completely right, and it reminds me of I've been remember even reading articles about there's how often some people will go through jobs, right? Then there's certain challenges with younger folks who maybe haven't figured out really just how to work with people.
Exactly.
um and it's more about working with people than it is the actual like skill sets of a job of learning Excel or learning coding. It's more about this communication and empathy that you're talking about.
It's like even if you have an online job, work from home or whatever, you still have to work with people via email and texts and stuff. So you still have to, obviously English or whatever language in the world you're using to speak with one another. You still have to have that empathy and right understanding about who the person is on the other side. And a lot of times
Absolutely.
we forget that.
So I'm very excited, and I forgot to tease this at the beginning. Um, is that we have some clips from one of your philosophy classes that I'm very excited to share, and I think what you're saying really shows like some of the power of just working with different learners, working with different perspectives, sharing, agreeing, disagreeing, and
And being
this
civil about it and sometimes agreeing to disagree, but can still work together or still be friends. So you just need to know more about our world. And the only way you can do that is through social studies, social sciences.
agree. And you said something to me that stuck with me that said the social sciences continues to evolve.
Oh, yes. It's a practice. Just like regular science, it's a practice. We come across these new great things, but it's constantly evolving. And so social sciences being a science is the same thing because our world is always changing up, down, sometimes sideways, but we get right back up again. So, and understanding why and how this works through different subjects, such as this one, particularly social studies and psychology. Um, kind of explains that and helps you to get an understanding of it and maybe not be so fearful of the world
Mm.
or of others.
Mm. Well, let's go ahead and if you don't mind, let's go ahead and we'll go into the some clips from the classroom. And this was a give me the context of this class. This is a philosophy class, yes?
Yes. And in philosophy, like I mentioned earlier, it's a lot more about when you answer a question, 6 or 7 more questions pop up. And some people would be like, oh, it's giving me a headache. Here's the thing. The philosophy and a lot of things in life can actually be quite simple. As humans, we just automatically make it difficult in our heads, causing this anxiety and this fear, and it just calm down. Don't overwork it. Reflect on it. Oh, okay. That's what you meant, Dr. Cafferly. Yeah, I said that a week ago. It took you so long. So
Well, let's do we'll dig in and we'll see. And I'm confident that viewers are going to see those aha moments and seeing that process go through their brain and have you coach them through these really challenging concepts that are coming up. So yeah, I'm gonna play the clip and we'll let viewers like dig in, look at how um they're interacting, look at how they're thinking about the topic, look at how Dr. Cafferly is engaging with them
watch
on
their
these
facial
topics.
expressions. The
Yes.
aha is in the facial expressions,
Yeah. And
even
to
for
be
me.
clear, right, and in full transparency, I've cut the clips from the classes. They're still in order, but just to sort of give an idea of, these will be snippets of conversation, just to give an idea of maybe where the conversation started, where it went. But they are in order, and I didn't do any like fancy editing or anything, but just to try to give it an idea of what's going on. All right, you ready to roll the clip, Dr.
Let's
Cafferly?
roll it. Into
All right.
philosophy we go. Don't overthink it. As always, I welcome you all with all of my heart. All right, it's current event time. It was about mind or body. So please get your current events up and ready to go, along with your slideshow, please.
Okay, you guys can see the slides, okay?
Yes.
Welcome back to my favorite reused asset every single class. Welcome to our weekly events bulletin where I tell you the who, what, when, where, and why of it all. Published by the Central Press. Despite having no central brain or a central nervous system, despite not having a brain, science has shown that jellyfish can learn from past experiences.
This current event is all about free will of the mind and why scientist Robert Sapolsky says free will doesn't exist. Descartes believed that the pineal gland. Oh, okay. He believed that the pineal gland was the seat of the soul in the body. And I thought that was interesting. I wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little bit ahead of his time with that, right? Because the pineal gland is the gland that is the one that controls all the other glands, is the thing. Because I guess that would be something that would be akin to the seat of the soul, like he said, because the point of the pineal gland is that it regulates all the other hormones and glands that you have inside your body. So, like, I think he was pretty on the money with that one.
And since it does pretty much control the endocrine system controls a lot of the brain chemicals as well in psychology.
So I was thinking about it more, and for me personally, I think that we are a mind with a body, like the question you're asking us, but I wanted to know what you guys thought about that too after like thinking about it.
Are we a mind with a body or
body with a mind?
With a body.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. I'm so sorry, when you said that, I thought, am I a man or am I a Muppet? I'm a Muppet. I'm sorry, I thought of the Muppets when you said that. But yeah, circling back to actually answering the question. So I think that it's kind of a connection of both of those statements, right? We are both a body with a mind and a mind with a body, because only when those things are both intrinsically entwined can we really call ourselves who we are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think, what do I think? A great master said, honor your own self, worship your own self, meditate on your own self. For God, whatever, dwells within you as you. See him in you first, and then see him in everything else. But choose your company wisely. Ems, can you do the same thing to me? Is the question.
It's a lot to live up to. David, you are a very well-spoken person, but I will try my best. So,
Meanwhile, I need a cup of coffee.
yeah. So, what I noticed when I was going through the notes and all the assignments for this this week, that's the length of time I was looking for. I almost said this semester, and I'm like, this isn't the final review. But so I was thinking a lot about the relationship between the body and the mind, right? I kind of touched on it when David posed the question of, are we a body with a mind, or are we a mind with a body? And kind of expanding more on my answer there, I think the body and the mind are inextricably linked. They are very close together. They're two things that have to work together to allow you to exist in any kind of reality, if that makes sense. And while it is possible to have one without another, one of my favorite things that my friend has ever said, what is a sword without its shield? You know, what really is one without the other? What is a body without a soul? What is a soul that doesn't have a body? A soul without a body can't interact with anything. It's a lost essence that isn't able to form together into a consolidated thing, versus a body without a mind. There is no drive, there is no force pushing it to move. It is a still lifeless thing. And so only when you have both of those things together can they be able to work together to allow you to fully experience things. A cafeteria and a gym are all part of the greater, bigger university, but when you zoom in and you look at them, one is definitely a cafeteria, one's definitely a gym, and they're not the same thing.
A cafeteria could temporarily be used as a gym and vice versa, however. It's just a matter of changing what's inside around. Now, what do you say?
Depends. So, in your example, are they still using the gym as a gym, or have they just fully
Yeah,
turned it into
half of it, half of it.
Still two separate halves? There's just less
But they're in the
separation.
same. But they're in the same building now.
Sure, the ball's still in the same court, but it's still two separate.
No pun intended. No, I think that makes one.
All right.
Just not totally merged together.
Yeah, you can try merging them together. I don't think it's going to go well. Who wants to eat in the gym?
People eat hot dogs and Cokes during basketball games all the time.
Well, that's when they're not actively exercising. A gym is where a bunch of people are actively exercising.
Okay, so then while the basketball players are dribbling down the court, they're also have a hot dog in their hand and they're chewing on it. Now what?
They're gonna throw up. It's that simple.
Ems is like, I'm done with you, Dr. Capley.
No, no, I'm enjoying this. This is the bit.
Welcome to your own self. It can be scary, but go deeper. You're not that. Go deeper. Have fun with this chapter. I'm looking forward to discussing it next week. Have fun with this chapter. Questions, comments, issues, concerns, worries, need any help, still enjoying the class, really hate it now. What you got for me?
I'm having a great time. This is great. Rah.
How about you, David?
I have a feeling this chapter is gonna make me overthink a lot.
Then when you find yourself doing that, what are you going to do?
Um, just maybe like take a step back and try to simplify it a little bit.
Take a step back, take a few deep breaths, and then go back to your natural breath and focus on the natural breath without controlling it. And then go back to it and see what happens.
Okay.
Sometimes when you get oxygen moving into the bloodstream and into the brain will relax, which can help your mind not to overthink.
Okay.
Kahoot.it. They would physically try to hurt me if I didn't have Kahoots in my classes.
Yeah, I did it. So, as right, so it looks like I mean, I have so many. Right, before I get into it, I'll
You're
open
thinking
up the
too
floor to
hard.
questions. Right, I am thinking too hard. But I want to open up the floor to questions from anyone who's viewing. If you have any questions about the, you know, these clips from the class and Dr. Cafferly's, um, how he's creating this space for learners, or any comments, please add them to the thread, and we will definitely get to answer those. As you can see, uh, Dr. Cafferly, correct me if I'm wrong, but you open up every class with current events, and you end every class with a Kahoot.it game, which is, an engaging sort of game to play that a lot of learners at OutSchool like to play.
Friendly
Is
competition
that
never hurt
accurate?
anybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
friendly
exactly.
competition's good, and it's just a fun way to review what we've already learned. So it's like it's just a way for it to hopefully stick in their mind after the live meeting. But
Absolutely.
the current events helps to bring social sciences to life, by even in philosophy, although they have to kind of work to find current events and news stuff about particular topics of philosophy. Because in all my classes, I give them a topic for the week, which is loosely based on the chapter we're learning. And when you get these examples of real world stuff, it helps put two and two together because we discussed the current events as well. And they have to find them from unbiased sources. And they always have to tell me what their source is. And just explain who, what, when, where, why, and how, along with a slideshow they make with relevant images. And we get into it and we discuss it and relate it to what we have learned. Because I do the flipped classroom where they study and do the assignments first. And then the next live meeting, we talk about it. We discuss it. We discuss the videos they watched, the assignments and projects that they did, the current events. And then I give a very short, fun mini lecture about the chapter that we did, because long lectures don't help anyone one ear out the other. But I do like to kind of review it in my terms. And then we play the Kahoot, and I make sure everyone's feeling fine and remind them to send me a private message 7 days a week throughout the semester if they need me for anything. And I respond the same day. And I'm a very busy teacher.
Yes, which is why we're featuring you too, to add more to your schedule, but also as as a very as an outstanding educator on the platform, who resonates with a lot of learners. And a question that I have from viewing the video, I'm going to try to break these up into smaller questions. These learners are bringing their A game to the discussion and bringing not only really great topical events and presenting them to the class, but they are talking about these subjects in depth at a level that I did not get to experience in high school.
Me neither.
And
I
uh,
understand.
how are you doing that without grades? How are you getting them to bring their best to you each week without grades?
I try to make it as exciting as possible. When anyone's excited about something, they're going to want to learn more about it. And then, of course, they're like, oh, I got to share this. Share. Please do share your information. And I think it's because I don't sit there and give lectures. I think it's because they know that my classroom is a democracy. It's all of us together. In fact, I never even call it my classes. I always call it our class. I try to remind them, hey, I'm just the point person. You know, we're all in this together. And I think they feel like they're part of a great group rather than part of a classroom. And I do give grades, by the way, if parents request them, but it's always based upon their participation and how well they articulate stuff and how well they do the assignments and discussion posts. But I always differentiate learning. I always base it upon every individual student's needs and abilities. There is no such thing as standard in my classes, especially philosophy, because there's no wrong answer in philosophy. That's the funny part. There's no wrong question. There's no wrong answer. So
How do you navigate the needs of the class? I see two different styles of learning, two very different styles of learning and different styles of engaging between these two learners. And yeah, how do you navigate that so that the experience, I mean, I'm looking at them like they are both experiencing this class and to the fullest. How do you navigate that so they both can experience the classroom in that way?
we might have noticed one's a little bit more vocal than the other. So for
Mhm.
her, it's the live meetings, but also she loves reading the text and seeing what these philosophers from ancient times, modern times, from the East and from the West, and she brings it to the live meeting. David, the other learner, if you could see his work in the classroom, it's dynamite. He writes these long paragraphs, and he listens a lot in class rather than speaking a lot, but he will ask questions, like he asked one in the snippet there about is the mind and body separate? And that's a good question for all of you. What do you think? Is the mind and body separate, or
Pop that in the thread.
can they work by themselves? And what is the mind exactly? Is the mind the brain? No, it's not. Science says so far. So yeah, it's up for a great discussion.
And that's what I found fascinating about just watching the class unfold. I got to see the whole thing. I got to see it a number of times. And it's easy. You could just tell by the level of questions from David that he's thinking about it. He's thinking about it deeply. You can tell by the facial expressions, the question he's bringing, and the types of questions. You can tell by by the level of discourse in how she's talking about the subject, her depth of knowledge about it, and her excitement about communicating it. And I mean,
Well, with David, he's still kind of sitting there and overthinking it, and that's okay. I try to get them to loosen up a little bit because I don't want them to have to start taking ibuprofen. But Ems is a free thought flower, which is great, and so it'll come down and then out. Come down from where? From the mind. Well, where's the mind? Well, it's not necessarily here. Um, where's the
Well,
soul? Where is all this stuff? Which is something that Kant and Descartes and Aristotle and Plato and Buddha and all of them have tried to answer for centuries and centuries and centuries, and all we have is more questions, which is just fun. For me, anyway.
and the magic too is that I think it's pretty common, a common phrase to hear from adults that they don't understand teens or that teens are so quiet and reserved.
Not with me.
You know, right. Yeah. So what are you doing? And at the risk of bragging, because I think this is something that more adults could use in our lives. If we were able to hear teen voices, I think we would see the world in a much more complete way, and be better for it. So, how are you doing it? And take the risk of maybe bragging,
Well,
please.
number one, and no offense at all, of course, but I'm not their parent. So they open up to strangers. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, that's true. One, don't be their parent. Okay.
But you have to get interested in what they're interested in. And if you want them to become interested in something else, well, you need to be really learned about it, but also open to going their way. You got to think back when you were a teenager. How did you think? Why did you think this way and that way? Why did you react and feel this way and that way? So there's a little bit of philosophy there. There's a lot of psychology there. So you really, as an adult, as a parent, have to think. You have to put yourself in their shoes. And I slip into their shoes every day from 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. Eastern time. To the point where my friends are like, how old are you? I'm like, well, today I'm 16. So you have to put their shoes on and engage. It's okay to ask them questions. And sometimes you'll get an answer like, how was your day? The teenager, but there's different tones. Pay attention to the tones. And then get a little closer and go, all right. So it sounds like you had a good day, even though it was just, that's typically good. And then it's like, what happened today? What's going on? So if you show genuine interest in their interests and just hang out with your teens, but not in public. They don't like that.
Right. Fair.
Just hang out with them and remember what it was like when you were a teen. Oh, but times have changed. Yes, of course they have, especially since cell phones and sound bites. We have all this communication. With whom are you really communicating with? In person.
Right, so I'm hearing you say, one, you have an advantage of not being a parent, which I think is pretty significant, and that's and legitimate, right? There's a way that, all right, to bring it back to OutSchool, but let's see on a wider level, mentors, right? The ability to have mentors that are not parents, I think, are invaluable to parents,
Indeed.
and that's something that I, as a parent, want to seek out more and more for my learners. The more I see it happening, the more I'm like, ooh, this is definitely a need. Then you're saying, right, this ability to meet teenagers where they're at, meet learners where they're at, and understand that a one-word answer is still communication, a sound is still communication, and being willing to sit there in that communication and accept it as it is, and to hear it. How, I guess, now with the subject matter, how to get them engaged in a subject matter that is, how do you find teens that are going to be this engaged about subject matter? Is that because, well, that's the beauty of the platform? Is that kids are only going to find you in a subject if they want you, so it's self-selecting? or have you? Is there more to it?
On the first day of the semester, when I introduce the class, introduce myself, introduce kind of how things work, I go around and as an icebreaker, I ask teens, whereabouts are you from now that OutSchool is worldwide? What's a couple of fun facts about you or interesting things about you? And why did you take this class? And then right after I say that, I always say, but if your parents told you to take this class, I want you to lie to me and make something up. Because that happens 50% of the times because my mom signed me up. So I'll have them lie to me. And, there's always a little bit of truth in the lie. And then I'll hear something like, I'm taking this class because I want to learn how to think. Philosophy, for instance. Okay. Well, what do you think you'll learn by thinking? And I interpret the grunt like, I don't know. But now I'm suddenly curious. So that's hook, line, and sinker. Just works every time.
I'm hearing you say that it is your curiosity about the actual learner that keeps them coming back and keeps them interested because
I
you're
want to know
curious
how
what
they're
they
doing. I want to know what they want to know, even if their parent just signed them up. And this happens during the first week of my semester. And then they start opening up and they start becoming very engaged into it. And I get a lot of repeat learners. They start taking all my classes. And I'm like, I'm getting a little tired of seeing you. Could you? And I joke with them. That's the other thing, too. I joke so much with them. And we even tease each other very lightly. And I make sure that they know that they can tease me back, that they have to, in fact, because I would introduce myself as, hi, I'm Dr. Cafferly. I am your guide, your coach, and your mentor. Notice I didn't say the word teacher or educator. And that's because this is our class. And I'm just here to facilitate things and have fun with you.
Yeah, and I that's what I loved about one of the clips that I found is not only you pushing back on their thoughts. So you didn't give an immediate there's a there's a computer camera, but pushing back on their thoughts, so, right? Not an immediate agreement or an immediate like positive reinforcement. You're just saying, okay, I'm thinking about this. I actually disagree a little bit, and you push back. But then there's this, it's lighthearted. There's also an element of we're still joking about it.
Basketball players can eat hot dogs in the gym.
Yeah. And this magic moment where the learner just agrees to let you have your okay, I see where you're at. Without conceding their point, saying, I see where you're at. I still have my thought, and we're still gonna laugh about it.
And learning happened by accident. Oops.
Yes. All right, we are coming up on time, and I want to encourage anybody who's watching, whether you're watching it, today or a week from now, come back with the question.
Please.
Think about whether it's the actual topic of philosophy or, am I a man or a Muppet?
I forgot about that.
Whatever it is, bring your questions. Or is it about the way that Dr. Cafferly is engaging with teens? Because clearly we have an expert who has been able to meet the magic moment of elevating what a teenager thinks, what they believe, and discussing it in a way that acknowledges their expert level of being an individual. And I think that's absolute magic. And I think it would be worth anybody digging in and trying to find out more about how Dr. Cafferly is doing that. So please comment on the thread ask about it. And I do want to, before we close up, I want to ask specifically about how you opened the class and how you ended the class with what I think models this self-awareness that you're developing in the learners. I want to ask about your intention there. So how do you open and how do you end the classes?
I do this because not all learners necessarily get love or respect for their ideas or how they learn or love of what they do. And so with great respect, with great kindness and great love, I welcome you all. I welcome you all with all of my heart. So with great respect and kindness and love, I welcome you all to submit your questions with all my heart. Namaste. And did you all feel that? Did you feel it? Yeah. Teens feel it too, because I am being 100% sincere. My teens, their parents, everybody knows that they can reach me 7 days a week, and not just about stuff in class, anything else too. Once you're a student or a parent of Dr. Cafferly's, you're always a student or parent of Dr. Cafferly's, even after class is over. I will still be here for you. Always.
And I think that is the magic that I see in the relationship that you've developed with your learners. And I'm really grateful that you are doing that, not only for OutSchool, but for the world. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for being that, being that example. With that, I think we are at time, and I'm very grateful for your time. And
Fernando, time is a human construct. There's plenty of time. What time is it on Mars? Who knows? What time is it in another galaxy? Who knows? What when you wake up, are you in reality, or was reality your dream? Who knows? So don't time. Oh, January 1st is coming up, isn't it? According to our time, it's going to be 2024. So my spring semester is open for anyone who wants to join me. Shameless
there we
plug.
go.
Shameless.
Plug away. So, okay, I'll rephrase this. Our current existence is about to shift. And
Ooh, a paradigm shift?
Yes, in which we both will not be on this screen.
Oh, Fernando,
but we will still be available.
What's the paradigm shift? You know?
But I'm grateful for this moment.
Take my class.
Yes, I would love to. Oh my gosh, I would love to. Having that level of discussion. I mean, it's like a master's level discussion course going on.
But even a beginner could come in and catch on.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your spirit. Thank you for opening this space and, bringing your heart, your open heart to the conversation and modeling that for learners. Before I leave, is there anything that you would like to say that maybe we haven't touched on before we head on out? And I'm totally just like I just did right on the spot.
Throwing at me here. Yes, actually. Come closer. With great respect and kindness, I welcome you all with all of my heart. Come, I'll see your team soon. Come play and accidentally learn with me.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Stay
Cafferly.
tuned to Fernando. He's great.
Oh yeah, I'm saving that clip. Thank you, Dr. Capperly, so much for coming and joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to OutSchool Live, and we will see you next week.